listen to this. More bets have been placed on Green Bay to win the Super Bowl than any other team at multiple Las Vegas Superbooks. Green Bay is a 4.5-point favorite against New York. Stephen A. Smith.
Yes.
The discount double check, the biggest threat to Dak and
Without question. Aaron Rodgers. You know why? Because he's a bad man. That's why. Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. Aaron Rodgers on that 6-game win streak, telling you what he was going to do and then going out there and doing it. Now, I got to give props for Tom Brady for the MVP, considering all the adversity he came through, overcame, 18 touchdowns, just one interception over the last 7 weeks since that loss in Seattle. But let's not get it twisted. I believe Aaron Rodgers to be the greatest talent at the quarterback position I have ever seen. That's what I believe about Aaron Rodgers. And this dude, having won 6 straight, going up against the New York Giants, who, by the way, can't average 20 points to save their life, haven't scored 20 points in about 6 weeks. Now, their defense is no joke, and I give credit where credit is due to Reese and the crew with DRC and Jenkins and all of these boys, Janoris Jenkins, and even Eli Apple to a lesser degree. But the bottom line is this. Even though defense ultimately propels you to championships, offense wins games, I'm just not feeling Eli. There's something that's wrong with Eli. He doesn't seem to be that dude. Not a playoff. Yeah, the offensive
playoff Eli.
Excuse me. Hey, I know what I'm saying. I know that he can step up. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm going to go by what I see. And this is what I'm saying, Max. He's rolling up against Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't care what anybody tells me. You're going to have to see, you have to show me that you could go on the Lambeau Field and knock off Aaron Rodgers. This happened before. Doesn't mean it can't happen again. But I got to see it to believe it. And I'm telling you right now, listen, Aaron Rodgers is not to be underestimated in any way. That's who I would, if I had to bet my money, I'm hoping the Giants win. If I had to bet my money, it's going to be on that bad man.
You know, a lot of people have talked about the Atlanta Falcons being the toughest threat for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to have to go with Green Bay because of how hot they are offensively, but I've talked about it before. Their defense has elevated their game enough where I think we're not focusing on how well they've been playing in the secondary. Now, as far as pass rush and being able to clog up running lanes, that will be a different story versus the Dallas Cowboys. But I look at it in the sense when they're playing against the New York Giants, we can talk about Eli, playoff Eli, but what we've seen over the last 8 weeks, it hasn't been pleasant, so to speak, because now you take out Odell Beckham, and it seems like he doesn't know how to throw the ball, or even though his receivers on the outside. Shepard is a pretty good wide receiver. Now, Victor Cruz, he gets missing at times. I don't know if it's because his relationship with Eli, or he doesn't trust him, whatever it may be, but they finally found a run game and being able to put Perkins in there. Now, Jennings, I thought he was a little slower hitting the hole. Now, Perkins can hit the hole and give you an option, but as far as the quarterback is concerned, you only go as far as your quarterback takes you. Eli, to me, is a turnover waiting to happen, or he'll find a big explosive play to Odell Beckham. Now, if you double Odell Beckham and force him to go somewhere else, it works in your favor. But when you look at the Green Bay Packers and what they've been able to do, running the football, play action game, Aaron Rodgers with the off-schedule plays, getting outside the pocket. Their offensive line has been blocking well for Aaron Rodgers. I think this is the one in which I think Dallas does not want to play Green Bay, especially if they go in and play the New York Giants very well and have to play them in that second game. That might be a tougher matchup than anyone gives.
If we're talking about Green Bay and New York, I agree. As a Giants fan, I hate playing the Packers in this game, especially on the road, especially the way Aaron Rodgers is playing. However, Eli is going to light up that secondary, and the reason you're talking about without Odell, he doesn't even seem to know where to throw the ball, is because the Giants have missed so badly on the offensive line in recent years. Forget about Beatty and all that stuff. Eric Flowers, that was a first-round pick, a high pick. Every single play, it's either someone's getting to Eli or he gets called for a hold.
He
has no time to throw
You
a
are
ball.
officially costing this guy money, Flowers. I mean, you bring him up every day. I mean, you're going to get this guy fired.
Look, he's 22 years old. There's time to improve, but it looks to me like maybe on the right side of the line eventually, not the left. I just got to tell you, I'm rooting for him. I just got to tell you what I see. So I agree with you about that matchup. But let's talk about who poses the biggest threat to Dallas. That means, is it Green Bay, should they win, or the Giants, should they win? The answer is the Giants. First of all, the most obvious thing is the Giants beat them twice. Now, I mean, that already happened. So the only argument against that is you're not going to beat a team 3 times. But the Giants have shown, and the Eagles' loss doesn't count. They had nothing to play for. When Dallas still had stuff to play for, the Giants were the only team in the NFL who had a shot at them, and they didn't beat them once. They beat them twice.
Wait a minute, did you say the Philadelphia Eagles game didn't mean much?
7
Cowboys,
drops.
no.
That was bad.
No, they
Oh,
didn't.
I thought you were talking about the
So
Giants.
what happened in Washington?
How many?
What just happened in Washington?
Exactly. That's by the way, that's how good the Giants' defense is right now. Even the Washington
about offense?
What about the offense?
That's the question that we need to figure out.
Giants didn't have
What
anything
about
to play
the
for
offense?
either, Donovan.
So they had nothing to play for. So all of a sudden, what? Eli just gonna go out there and just throw the ball there?
My point is, Eli doesn't have time to throw. Your criticism of the Giants' offense is correct. That may have an effect against Green Bay, but they've already shown that their offense is good enough to beat Dallas twice. So who poses the biggest threat? Obviously, the team that's already beat you twice. And the New York Giants defense is arguably right now the best defense in the NFL.
What I think you're missing is that familiarity sometimes can be the devil in disguise. And what I mean by that is that if you are the Dallas Cowboys, the fact that you've played against this team, even though they beat you, each was a highly contested matchup. It wasn't a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. It could have gone either way. Now they're the number 1 seed. They're on their home turf. You've beaten them. They've seen what you can throw at them. They're more familiar with you, which is why it's so difficult. Not to mention the fact, what is the alternative? The alternative, Max, is for that defense, even though it's been impressive under Marinelli, even though it seems to be upgrading and what have you. The bottom line is you going up against one of the greatest quarterbacks that we've ever seen, who's a surgeon out there, who can pick anybody apart. And everybody's raving about whether it's DeMarcus Lawrence, it's the Randy Gregory's of the world and others who are in that lineup. When you're throwing people back into the mix, trying to get those fresh bodies, sometimes that chemistry can get disrupted. And I don't think that's to be underestimated.
We shall see.
He's carried a team to the brink of the playoffs with no running backs, diminished wide receivers, and what, the worst secondary in the NFL? Put Aaron Rodgers on any other team in football and ask, is that team better with him or with the guy they already have? The answer across the board is every team in football is better with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. As long as Aaron Rodgers is doing Aaron Rodgers things, he's the guy you want, the best player in the game. And when he takes the Green Bay Packers to the playoffs this season, you're NFL MVP.
That was your boy Max Kellerman about 2 weeks ago after the Packers suffered their 4th straight loss week 11 to the Redskins. So some thought Aaron Rodgers was wishful thinking when he stated Green Bay can run the table, but Max was a believer and Rodgers spoke it into existence. So according to the updated NFL regular season MVP odds, after week 17, Tom Brady, who missed 4 games, of course, to start the year, has the best odds to win the MVP, followed by Matty Ice, and that bad man has the 3rd best odds. So since his famous quote about running the table, Rodgers has 15 touchdowns and no interceptions in 6 games. Donovan McNabb in the building. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Great to have you.
Year. Happy New Year, big
Happy
boy.
New Year.
I want to start with you here. Is Rodgers the MVP?
First of all, may I say, what a brilliant prediction by me.
yeah.
Of course he's the MVP. And the reasons the odds are like this is because people have a problem using their brains. This is not that difficult. First, let me take the Tom Brady who's on the top of the list. Tom Brady is the one player in the NFL you can argue, at least you can argue, I'm not saying you will win, but you can argue, on a per game basis, on average, better than Aaron Rodgers this year. You could argue it, but it is close, and I showed stats to that effect last week. So if you're arguing Tom Brady over Aaron Rodgers, you're saying that Rodgers had 0 value in the 4 games, that's 25% of the season, that he played when Tom Brady didn't play. 0 value in 4 games, that's patently absurd. We know that's absurd. It's ridiculous to say. Obviously he had value. He had good value in those 4 games, meaning it is simply not possible to put Brady ahead of Rodgers. And there's really, apologies, Matt Ryan, Derek Carr got hurt, obviously. There's no one else in that conversation. That's like the kind of statistical test.
But he didn't play at an MVP level the first time.
Overall, well, he had 44 touchdowns, 40 through the air, led the league, and 4 more on the ground. Hold on. That is the statistical test. Led the league in touchdowns against 7 interceptions. How about the eyeball test?
Oh, you're going eyeball test.
Let's do eyeball test.
He's finally going eyeball
How
test.
about the fact?
His eyeballs are important.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How about the fact that we just saw Aaron Rodgers make plays a couple days ago that no other quarterback, apologies, Donovan McNabb and others, maybe ever, makes all those plays as seemingly as easily as Aaron Rodgers. He is operating on a different level than everyone else. You switch him, as I mentioned, with any other quarterback in the league, the team he goes to just got better, and the Packers just got worse. He is the clear choice for MVP in the NFL this year.
In the words of Stephen A. Smith, you are so disrespectful to Tom Brady, who has done this since he started after the suspension. Now, I've said it over the last 7 weeks that I thought Aaron Rodgers is in the MVP race. He's third behind Tom Brady, depending on how they look at the suspension. Ezekiel Elliott being second, and then third will be Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the hottest quarterback in the NFL at this particular time, and he's just so happens to be playing against your New York Giants, but that's for another conversation. But when I look at the NFL at this particular point, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots have not only put things in perspective when it comes to possibly being in the Super Bowl again, but they are the best team in the AFC and the best team, people could argue, in the NFL. Now, you could say that Aaron Rodgers has led the Green Bay Packers in that position because you have Montgomery now starting to elevate his game at the running back position. Jordy Nelson starting to get more involved in the passing game. Randall Cobb, the list goes on. Defensively, I think is more of a story for the Green Bay Packers of how successful they've been. But when it comes to the MVP race, are you just totally forgetting about what Ezekiel Elliott has been able to do throughout the season that's put them in a position to be the best team in the NFC? I mean, that's the one that
do with the offensive line.
Well, see, again, it's always something other than...
No, that's the argument you just made. Tom Brady's on the best team. You turn it into a team award. And then when Rodgers does well, you say, well, his teammates got better. Somehow that takes away credit from Rodgers, but it adds to Tom Brady.
No, not at all. When you look at the situation with the New England Patriots, Gronk is out. Edelman has been in and out. Can you name anybody else that possibly has with a name
greatest coach who ever lived?
But you're talking about a coach.
Huh?
I mean, the greatest coach is not out there throwing footballs and also putting them in great position to win games.
Positions, yeah.
Well, I mean, here we go. So now let's go to Green Bay. So in Green Bay, there's a lot of injuries that happen in the secondary. So does Aaron Rodgers play DB? Is he out there knocking passes down? Is he out there sacking quarterbacks? Their defense is starting to come together. And offensively, the X factor on that offense, not taking things away from Aaron Rodgers because he's done a great job and he's in the MVP race and he's the hottest quarterback. But how about the X factor being Montgomery and what he's been able to do in the running game?
Sorry, I forgot.
The X factor,
sorry. No,
let's get it right, Max. Now, X factor and MVP are two different things.
Okay.
Montgomery has definitely elevated this game in the offensive level for the play action game of how well he's been running the football. He's the hottest quarterback. I like what he's doing, and I think he goes into New York and ends your whole playoff run.
I'm rolling with Donovan McNabb on this one.
Here we go.
Tom Brady, last 7 games since losing to the Seattle Seahawks on November 13th. 18 touchdowns, just 1 interception. They're undefeated. They're 11-1 since he's arrived. I take into account the level of adversity that Tom Brady had to go through. To some people, self-inflicted. To others, railroaded, sabotaged, whatever the case may be. Forget about the fact that the New England Patriots were 3-1 without him. When he came back, him having not played, in the regular season, him having to have gone through what he went through throughout the entire offseason, still being able to do what he was able to do, I got to give props to that. A QBR of 89, a quarterback rating of 112, an 11-1 record. Aaron Rodgers has been absolutely sensational. He would be number 2 on my list, Donovan, ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. To piggyback off of what Max said, ran the table. Guaranteed 6 straight, delivered, okay? All right, didn't throw an interception in that period of time. Finished the season 40 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions with a QBR 72. The eye test shows you how terrific and fantastic he has been.
44 touchdowns.
Right. You said it's 40. I thought
it's 4 on the ground, 40 through the air.
I said 40 touchdown passes.
Oh,
That's what I said. So listen. So here's the deal. What I'm saying to you is this. Aaron Rodgers overcame a lot. And I think he's the most talented quarterback I've ever seen. I stand pat on that. To me, I would pick him over Brady overall as my quarterback, just on an everyday basis. But what I'm saying is that the adversity that Green Bay went through earlier in the season, he played a part in that. So even though it was overcome and it was usurped and ultimately propelled them to the NFC North crown, that stuff that happened early in the season where we were having conversations about what happened to Aaron Rodgers, what happened to Green Bay, is Mike McCarthy on the hot seat? I'm saying to you, the MVP is for overall, from the time, in my opinion, that you're on the field, what you do. Now, Tom Brady wasn't on the field for those first 4 games.
Right.
And I look at that as saying, okay, that's a lot to overcome. And to be near flawless, despite that absence, resonates with me. Tom Brady would be my MVP.
Did you actually say, forget about the fact that they were 3-1 without him? In other words, forget about the piece of evidence that disqualifies him from the MVP. The real piece of evidence is he missed those 4 games. Forget about that. In fact, give him credit for missing the 4 games over a guy who played all 16 just as well about as he did. But in addition to that, forget about the fact that they were 3-1 without him, meaning he's on a great team because of a great coach.
Did Green Bay struggle in those first 4
Because
games?
of a great coach, he was 3-1, and the one loss was by the third string quarterback.
I can answer that.
Did Green Bay struggle in the first 4
Wait a minute, guys.
They struggled.
I want Donovan, I'm going to throw this as a response because I've never thrown this at you, but I want to hear what Donovan McNabb has to say with what I'm about to say to you. Max Kellerman, the pieces that are around Tom Brady, did you ever take a moment to give credit to Tom Brady from this perspective? The pieces that Bill Belichick put around that team is because he knew he had Tom Brady. My point is that 3-1 record, even with Tom Brady not on the field quarterbacking, may have impacted, and Tom Brady may have impacted that as well, because knowing you had him was what enables you to get the Hogans of the world and others. Go ahead.
And also to add to that, did we see this thing last year where Tom was Aaron Rodgers, came on late, got hot, but Cam Newton went all through the year and became that MVP?
No, it was opposite. Brady early in the year was the best quarterback by so much it was ridiculous.
We weren't focusing
Cam
on Cam.
came on hot at the end.
We weren't focusing on Cam because Tom was so hot.
What you mean by that is make my point by making the opposite point.
Gentlemen,
We
we
didn't
could
focus
spend a whole
on
show
Tom.
on this.
Tom has done it all season.
Excuse me.
We got to keep
Molly has
moving.
spoken.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. You heard these guys talk about Aaron Rodgers' MVP chances, but now we want you to weigh in. Should Rodgers win MVP this season? Go on Twitter and vote. Results coming up a little later in the show.